How many of you have been to a luau, you've seen fire knife dance or stuff like that before? Okay, well, it has not, and how many of you saw those in Hawaii or advance? Well, dude, listen, it has nothing to do with Hawaii. Fire knife has nothing to do with Hawaii. So it has nothing to do with Hawaii. Let me give you some history of this, okay? I learned the history, and when you learn the history and you understand the history, you can pull so many lessons out of the history as well. So circa like 1200 AD, Tongans had invaded the Samoan Islands. It comes from Samoa, okay? They'd invaded the Samoan Islands, and they'd been there for about 200 years until three brothers decided to do something about it. Three brothers. See, some people have this calling, right? They have this need to change the narrative for their families. Raise your hand if you feel that need, that calling to change the narrative for your families. Raise your hands. Okay. Now raise your hand also if you really have that. Raise your hand if that gets a little bit stressful at times. Raise your hands. Yeah, and if you didn't raise your hand, that you haven't taken on that calling. It's a fact. It's a lot on your shoulders. Well, dude, these three brothers, okay, their names were Savia, Tuna, and Fata, had that kuleana. Kuleana means responsibility, okay? Responsibility, not just for their families, but for the entire island of Samoa. Imagine the weight. Imagine the weight. Their people were not happy. So what did they start to do? They started to create this mutiny of civil disobedience to just reclaim their land, man. Well, around this same time, these three brothers, okay, the king of Tonga, it was his birthday. And he called on the Samoan warriors to come perform at his birthday. And that was the last straw for the brothers. They were like, are you shitting me right now? They want to perform at his birthday? You're out of your mind. But then they're like, man, wait a minute. This may just be our chance to reclaim our land. This may just be our chance, this opportunity to surprise attack them. So they put together a plan. Let me tell you what their plan is. Number one, they were gonna hide weapons in the sand. Bury them in the sand, okay? Number two, they were going to get the Tongans drunk on bush gin. Wasted. They're just gonna feed them full of bush gin. And then they're gonna distract and attack. How do you distract? Well, you take something like this, okay? This is called the Nifo Oti, or Nifo Oti is what it's called. This is your fire knife. Now it's different up here, right? We had LEDs up here. But this is what it looked like, a weapon. They wrapped it in palm branches, and the plan was you light it on fire to distract. How many of you, when the fire knife was going, and obviously it wasn't fire, it was LED, okay? No fire essentially allowed in here. I don't know why, it doesn't make sense to me. It seems safe enough, okay? But no fire allowed, okay? So it was LED. But how many of you, as he was spinning and throwing, how many of you became mesmerized by that? How many of you became mesmerized by that? That's very much on purpose, man. That's very, very much on purpose. So I can just imagine how this plan came about. I can just see these guys like with their buddies, chilling. And one of their buddies, they get wasted on bush gin. And then all of a sudden, one of their buddies starts effing around, lights his Nifo Oti on fire, starts chucking it in the air. And the buddies are like, oh man. Have y'all ever seen a light show before? Okay, now, have any of you ever seen a light show when you're wasted? And that shit's mesmerizing, okay? Imagine this, okay? They had fire and bush gin, but imagine this light show up here, but we fed you full of ecstasy. How many of you are full of ecstasy right now, be honest with you? There's my people, okay. Y'all would be an absolute wreck. Imagine if we're up here, he's spinning, and then you're just mesmerized, and then we attack. That's what they did, man. They're like, listen, maybe this will work. We'll spin some shit around. We'll spin it around. Maybe they're gonna be mesmerized. We'll chuck them, feed them full of bush gin. Then we'll attack. That's what they decided to do. So they start performing. They had other warriors offshore on canoes. Waiting to attack when the sign was given. So they're performing. And then what they did is they walked over to where, because listen, these warriors are in the canoes. They don't know where the weapons are though. So they need to walk over, and they stood in the sand where the weapons were so the warriors in the canoes would know where to go. Let that sink, okay? The warriors in the canoes would know where to go. Gave them the signal, they charge, pick up the weapons, and light them ablaze, set them ablaze, and start performing, and then attacking. They drove them from and listen, here's what's cool. My dad actually lived in Western Samoa for a time. And I had an opportunity to go to Western Samoa. I lived in Western Samoa for a month with the Samoan family. Life-changing experience for me. And when I tell you that you have the opportunity and to be grateful for the opportunity, listen, man, the opportunities we have here are different. I learned that at a young age, at 13 years old, living with the Samoan family in a hut. I'll never forget it. Some of the most happy, grateful, joyful people. I remember walking with the dad. His name was Simi. And I remember walking with Simi, and I'm walking down the street. It's nighttime, like the sun's going down, okay? Sun's going down. And he stops me, and he says, Tyler, you in the States, you guys have privilege, you have opportunity, you have money, but we have this. And he points at his land. I'll never forget it, ever. It sunk into me of how privileged we are, that everything is perspective. Guess what? We also have beautiful land here. Not only do we have beautiful land, we get to come to shit like this and actually have the opportunities, actually have the potential to change the narrative for our entire change the narrative for generations. Peak Partnership. Who's excited to be here? Come on, man. Come on. So they attacked, man, to reclaim their land. They drove them from the eastern side of the island all the way to the western side. Listen, those forts, I don't know if you've ever been wasted and then trying to fight and run. That's tiring. Mom, I don't know anything about that, first off, okay? Nothing. I've never fought, never been wasted. Sure shit never ran. I'm attacking back, yes or no? Yeah, I've been super wasted, I ain't gonna lie. But bloody the whole way through, man. Get him all the way now to the western side of the island, and now the king of Tonga and his bodyguards are pinned, cornered against the sea. And they board their Navy vessels and left Samoa for good. They conceded and left Samoa for good. And as they were leaving, listen, as they were leaving, in this moment of defeat, the king could not help but just recognize the greatness that he had just witnessed. And as they were rowing away, he gave a speech. Conceded victory, and he said, Malitoa, Malitau, which means great warriors, well fought. Great warriors, well fought. Y'all, those three brothers made their mark. They made their mark so much that when I'm out there years, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years later, Simi tells me, but we got this. Their land. What is your land, man? What is your mark? What's the mark that you are going to make on this world? What's the mark you're gonna make for your families? What's the mark you're gonna make this weekend in your life? Listen, there are three critical things that I wanna pull from this example of the Samoan warriors, the Samoan warriors. Three things that are critical for your success this weekend. There are three things that are critical for your success in life. Literally every successful person that I've ever studied have had these things. Number one, and the whole reason that we're here this weekend, by the way, Peak Partnership. Not only can you find all of these things at Peak Partnership, it is the whole reason that this thing was created and designed, man, was for this. Number one, if we're gonna go to war, we need some weapons, man. We need some weapons. What weapons are you hoping to gain from this weekend? Shout them out. Knowledge, connections, relationships, friendships, like that. Capital. Tyler, hey, my man. All those things, man. Weaponized, man. Listen, we got, I look at the sponsors of the events out here, our vendors out here. They are all here for a reason. They have tools, weapons that will help you with your businesses. How many of you are always looking for things, people, resources to help you with your life and your business? Say I. Man, chat with them, talk to them, understand what is there, and take advantage of the tools. Don't go to war without a weapon. Don't go to war without a weapon, man.